They should have stayed in coach where they belong. That was the first thing I heard when I settled into seat 3A, and it sliced through the quiet cabin sharper than any turbulence. It wasn't whispered either. No, it hung in the air, heavy, for everyone to hear. And you'd be surprised how fast a plane full of adults can turn into statues when cruelty walks down the aisle dressed in a pressed suit. I'll never forget the look on my daughter's face. Yeah, this isn't about me. But let me back up a sec, because if you've ever wondered how a simple flight can change everything, you're about to find out. Leona, 11 years old, all elbows and hope, sat in that first-class seat like she was wearing a crown, Sunday dress crisp and white, hair in tiny braids her mother finished at 3 a.m. because she works nights and barely makes ends meet. That seat cost us more than we could afford, but I did it, just once, so my daughter could see what it feels like to belong somewhere beautiful. But turns out, not everyone believes kids like mine deserve a view from up high. Next to her sat Douglas Whitford III. Yeah, the kind of guy who never waits in line, always gets his way, the kind who thinks old money is a personality trait. He complained about the champagne, the cabin temperature, but his worst complaint was Leona, right there in first class, as if she was some sort of affront to his legacy. 3 times before takeoff he made a fuss, loud enough for the whole cabin to hear. But it was nothing compared to what happened next. You know, the kind of silence when something bad happens and everybody sees, but nobody does a damn thing? That's what it felt like when Doug, with this little smirk, reached out and accidentally knocked a cup of hot tea straight into Leona's lap. She gasped, a sharp, startled sound, but she didn't cry. She just froze, hands clenched around her backpack, trying to be smaller than she was. Doug didn't apologize. He didn't even look sorry. Oops, he said, like it was no big deal. Accidents happen. Maybe we're something more fitting for first class next time. I swear, the temperature in that cabin dropped 10 degrees. The people around us, all those adults, suddenly found their magazines fascinating. One lady turned to the window. Another couple traded guilty glances, but nobody said a word. Not until Serena, the flight attendant, stepped in. Serena's been flying for decades. You can see it in the way she stands, in the way her eyes see everything. But even she looked rattled. She leaned in, voice steady, but her hands trembling a little, and asked Doug to join her in the galley. He blinked like he couldn't believe anyone would dare question him. But he followed, trailing entitlement behind him like bad cologne. Leona just sat there, tea seeping into her dress, cheeks burning brighter than the stain on her lap. She gripped her backpack so hard I thought the straps would snap. And still, the silence. It wasn't just about spilled tea. It was about power and the ugly little games people play when they think no one will challenge them. But there was a twist even Doug didn't see coming. Leona's smartwatch was recording. Every word, every sneer, all of it sinking to the cloud. Proof in real time that sometimes silence hurts worse than words. Serena stood up to Doug in the galley, told him straight, "You just humiliated a child." Doug shrugged it off, saying, "Little girls don't belong up here." He really said it. And for a moment, you could feel the whole plane holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Serena didn't back down. She logged the incident, told him it wasn't over, and returned to Leona, kneeling beside her. "Sweetheart, you did nothing wrong," she whispered. Leona nodded, eyes glassy but unbroken. You could see something shift right then, not for everyone, but for Serena, for Leona, for me. Meanwhile, back home, Leona's mother, Carolyn, got a ping on her phone. New video uploaded from Leona's watch. She watched it right there, standing in our little kitchen, laundry spinning, her heart pounding out of her chest as she heard Doug's words, saw her daughter sit in silence, felt the burn of a wound she couldn't kiss away. And right then, she made a choice. She pressed share by the time the plane landed, the world was already watching. Leona's story spread faster than the flight itself. First a parenting group, then civil rights advocates, then a local news reporter who remembered Carolyn from her work during COVID. The hashtag started trending. Doug sat in his seat, still smug, sipping whiskey, completely unaware that he'd just set his own house on fire. When we got off that plane, TSA was waiting. So was Carolyn, standing in the terminal, eyes blazing. I'm here for my daughter, not your apology. Reporters swarmed, flashbulbs popping. Doug tried to explain, tried to say it was just tea, but nobody was listening to him anymore. All eyes were on Leona and Carolyn, the woman who wouldn't let her child's pain go unseen. You ever see a moment that changes everything? As they walked into the terminal, reporters shouted questions, but Carolyn spoke over them. She speaks when she's ready. Not for your cameras. And Leona, just 11, stepped forward, clutching her crumpled essay, her prize from school, hands shaking but voice steady. I thought I belonged in the air, she said. But some people still look down, even up high. You could have heard a pin drop. She forgave the silent passengers, asked them to do better next time. There wasn't a dry eye in the terminal. Then came another twist, the unexpected kind. Doug's wife, Charlotte, stepped into the spotlight, not to defend him, but to reveal the truth. Years of quiet cruelty, a pattern that spanned hotels, workplaces, schools, cover-ups, payoffs, everything. She handed over receipts, statements, and a donation, $250,000, for a scholarship in Leona's name. True power, her letter read, is standing when others sit. You showed my husband who he truly is. I'm sorry it took so long. Doug's empire crumbled in real time. Lawsuits, resignations, board members fleeing, even his own daughter denouncing his actions online. Leona? She planted sunflowers in styrofoam cups, letting the world spin while her story kept growing. When the city asked her to speak at the Civic Unity Forum, she wore a navy dress. No stains, just courage. Silence burned more than the tea, she told the crowd. Next time, don't wait for someone else to speak. That's the thing about truth. Once it gets out, it spreads faster than any rumor. Leona's quiet bravery, Serena's steady hand, Carolyn's fierce love, and even Charlotte's confession. Together, they rewrote the ending. Leona didn't ask for revenge. She stood in the truth and made the world decide what kind of place it wanted to be. Oh, I gotta ask. What would you do the next time you see someone being told they don't belong? The dress still fits. The problem was never Leona. It's the mirror we're all afraid to look into. Next time, don't wait for a camera. Don't wait for the news. Stand up. Speak. Because the world only changes when silence finally gives way to courage. If this story meant something to you, leave a comment, share it, and tell me, when did you find your voice? Or when did silence cost you too much? The truth's out there now. What we do next, that's on us.